History does not break when someone writes a new sentence in a textbook. It breaks when the ground opens and hands us evidence that should not be there. A temple older than agriculture. Footprints buried in Ice Age mud. A bone that introduced a human species no one knew existed. A machine pulled from the sea that should have belonged to the future. These are the discoveries that forced scientists to rewrite history. And the most disturbing part is this: they changed more than the facts of the past. They changed what we think humans are. 1. Southeastern Turkey, around 9600 BCE. Long before the pyramids, long before Stonehenge, and before the first cities rose from the dust, humans carved massive limestone pillars and lifted them into circular enclosures on a hill now known as Göbekli Tepe. For decades, one of the cleanest stories about civilization sounded simple. First came farming, then settled villages, then organized religion, then monuments. Survival came first. Belief came later. Göbekli Tepe made that timeline unstable. The people who built it lived in the pre-pottery Neolithic world, mobile hunter-gatherer groups capable of coordination, ritual labor, and architectural ambition before the familiar machinery of cities or empires existed. Some pillars carry carved animals, foxes, snakes, boars, birds, creatures that seem less like decoration and more like a language with the alphabet missing. The shock was not only that the site was old, the shock was that organized ritual may have helped pull people together before agriculture fully controlled their lives. In other words, civilization may not have invented the temple. The temple may have helped invent civilization. Göbekli Tepe placed a stone blade under one of history's oldest assumptions, that human beings only looked upward after they had solved the problem of food. 2. White Sands, New Mexico, 21,000 to 23,000 years ago. Across an ancient lake bed in what is now White Sands National Park, human footprints were pressed into wet ground during the Ice Age. Each print captured a brief human action, a step, a weight shift, a body crossing soft mud before the surface hardened into memory, a person walking, a child crossing soft mud, bodies moving through a landscape where mammoths, giant ground sloths, and dire wolves were still part of the living world. For a long time, the dominant model placed the first widely accepted human presence in the Americas much later, after ice sheets had opened migration routes and after the last glacial maximum had begun to loosen its grip. The footprints complicated that picture. Radiocarbon dating and later independent age estimates placed the tracks between roughly 21 and 23,000 years old. That means people may have been in North America thousands of years earlier than many models had comfortably allowed. And footprints are difficult evidence to dismiss. A stone tool can be moved, a bone can be disturbed, but a footprint is an event frozen into earth. It says someone was here at this moment, in this landscape, under this sky. White Sands offered no complete migration map. Instead, it made the old map impossible to trust. The blank spaces had become evidence. The first Americans were no longer just an arrival story. They became a mystery of routes, refuges, lost populations, and human movement through a continent still half locked in ice. 3. Denisova Cave, Siberia, discovered 2008/ancient DNA. A fragment of finger bone discovered in 2008. In a cave in the Altai Mountains, archaeologists found a tiny piece of bone so small it could have disappeared into the soil without anyone noticing. It did not look like something that could rewrite the human family tree, but the DNA inside it was a signal from a vanished world. When scientists sequenced the genome, the result did not fit neatly into the categories that dominated public imagination: modern human or Neanderthal. The bone belonged to a previously unknown group of archaic humans, now called Denisovans. A new branch of humanity had been discovered from a fragment. That alone would have been extraordinary, but the story reached beyond ancient bone. Denisovan DNA survived inside living people. Genetic traces appeared in modern populations, especially in parts of Oceania, showing that ancient populations met, mixed, and left pieces of themselves inside later humans. Human history stopped looking like a clean line and started looking like a broken radio transmission. Overlapping voices, missing frequencies, fragments from people whose faces we may never fully reconstruct. The Denisovans forced science to confront an uncomfortable truth. We are not the pure survivors of a single human story. We are an archive, and some of the pages inside us were written by ghosts.
You found the signal. Subscribe to Lost Signal. Leave your theory in the comments.
4. Antikythera, Greece. Discovered 1901 off the island of Antikythera, Greece. A shipwreck discovered in 1901. Among statues, amphorae, and corroded fragments pulled from the sea, one object looked like ruined bronze. At first, nothing about it suggested a machine. It looked like debris. Only later did X-rays and detailed studies reveal the impossible complexity inside: interlocking gears, astronomical cycles, calendar functions, and eclipse prediction. What looked like ruined bronze turned out to be engineered astronomy. Ancient Greece was known for geometry, astronomy, and philosophy, but this artifact forced a deeper question: how much mechanical knowledge existed in the ancient world that left almost no surviving trace? The mechanism could model celestial cycles with a sophistication that feels centuries ahead of the simple image many people carry of antiquity. It suggested workshops, traditions, and technical skill that may have vanished almost completely from the record. That is what makes the Antikythera mechanism so haunting. Its sophistication appears almost alone in the surviving record. It appears in the archaeological record like a single transmission from a lost technological lineage. We have the signal, we do not have the station. If one machine survived by accident under the sea, how many others were melted down, shattered, burned, recycled, or buried beyond recovery? The Antikythera mechanism reframed the ancient world by showing that our surviving evidence preserves only a thin shadow of its mechanical knowledge. 5. Newfoundland, Canada. L'Anse aux Meadows, Newfoundland. On the northern edge of North America, archaeologists uncovered the remains of a Norse settlement. Sod buildings, ironworking evidence, and material traces of people who had crossed the Atlantic centuries before Columbus. For a long time, medieval Norse sagas described voyages to a place called Vinland. To some, they sounded like myth wrapped around memory. To others, they were history blurred by storytelling. L'Anse aux Meadows changed the weight of those stories. The site showed that Europeans reached North America around 5 centuries before 1492. The old schoolbook line collapsed into a more complex truth. Columbus was no longer the first European arrival in the Americas. He became the beginning of a different chapter: sustained conquest, empire, and global collision. The Norse site was small, temporary, fragile, but history does not always change because something is large. Sometimes it changes because a single campfire appears on the wrong side of an ocean. Lance O. Meadows reminds us that history is not only what happened, it is what survived with enough clarity to be believed. The sagas were not flawless maps, but buried under grass and weather, a signal remained. And when archaeologists finally received it, the Atlantic became a smaller, darker place. 6. Yucatan, Mexico, 66 million years ago. For generations, the extinction of the non-avian dinosaurs was explained through climate shifts, volcanic eruptions, slow decline, and long environmental pressure. The end of the dinosaurs felt like a gradual fading of giants. But a thin layer of clay around the world carried an unusual chemical signature, iridium, rare in Earth's crust, but more common in extraterrestrial material. That clue pointed upward. Then scientists identified the buried Chicxulub crater beneath the Yucatan Peninsula, a vast impact scar left by an asteroid strike near the boundary between the Cretaceous and Paleogene worlds. The story changed from slow disappearance to planetary violence. An object from space hit Earth within a force to ignite fires, trigger tsunamis, blast material into the atmosphere, and help turn daylight into a global winter. Their extinction no longer looked like a slow defeat in an evolutionary contest. It became the story of a biosphere struck by violence from outside the planet. Chicxulub forced scientists to accept that life on Earth can be redirected by a single external event. Evolution is not always a staircase. Sometimes it is a corridor with a door blown through the wall. And the most disturbing implication is not about dinosaurs, it is about us. Because a crater is history written in violence. It says that the future of life can be altered by something that arrives without warning, without intention, and without mercy. A temple rises before farming can fully explain it. A footprint appears where the timeline said no one should be. A bone speaks for a human species we never knew we had met. A machine turns inside the ancient sea. A campfire burns on the wrong continent. Though a crater becomes a murder weapon, these discoveries did more than correct history. They exposed the weakness of history itself, because the past is not a finished book. It is a damaged archive. Pages are missing. Witnesses are dead. Entire civilizations may have left only fragments small enough to fit in a hand. And every time science finds one of those fragments, the signal changes. This is lost signal. Some frequencies were never meant to be found.